Man, you got to be careful what you do on YouTube. Especially careful on liking or commenting on stuff because their algorithms will pick up on it, and the next thing you know, we are being flooded with new content. So obviously, somewheres in the last month or so, YouTube's algorithms found me looking at some knife videos. Long story short, a month later, one of these 26 knives is brand new, and one of them is, gosh, how old is that? From the 70s, 50 years old. Now, if you were to freeze frame it here and zoom in and do a close-up, you probably find a couple knives that you recognize. You might even find one that you own, and you're going to find some that you're going to go, man, what is that? What is that? I'm curious about that. So hang tight, and I'm going to show you what I got, because that's what the algorithms want to see. There's really no good place to stop because I got like 5, 6, 7, 8 different categories of knives. But I figured I'd start with the easy ones. Fixed blades. This is my SOG. It is a SOG Field Pup. This was one of my first fixed blades I bought. This was not very expensive, probably why I bought it. Leather pouch, looks good. It's very sharp. It's easy to sharp, and you can tell by my knives. I use them, I cut them. I don't care what happens to them. It's a tool. This was for riding on the Harley. You know, you got leather chaps on, leather jacket, leather vest. They just fit to go with a leather. That's my SOG. I've got 2 Moras. I found these through Amazon. Links will be in the description like they always are. Grips are a little bit different. The steels are a little bit different. This one I think was like $8 when I bought it. This might have been 13, and I think this is like 19 now, and this is 12 or something. Prices have gone up thanks to Biden. Anyways, carbon steel, very sharp, easy to keep sharp, stay sharp for a very long time. This stays in the back of my FJ Cruiser, and I use this around the camp all of the time. This one here stays in my backpack, which I carry for when I go hiking, in addition to whatever I have in my pocket. Next category is keychain knives. Everybody's got to have one of these. These are the novelty giveaway. I think my company gave these away to customers with my company name and phone number on here. Just a Swiss Army. This is your Swiss Army folder. Got a knife. It's got a file, fingernail file, little small screwdriver on it. And this one has actually got a scissor, so that's actually a nice one. And it's got the little lanyard for hanging on your keychain. This was another old one of mine. This is a charade. Just got the one edge there to sharpen. Goes on the keychain. I can't remember what I used to have this on. Right now it's just a spare, and everybody's got to have a cigar puncher. And then this was a bigger Swiss Army knife. Little saw, knife blade, fingernail file, scissors, just the same thing. Tweezers and a toothpick. Same tweezers and a toothpick as the other one, so they're interchangeable, and you can buy them by the dozen because you get lost with those, or they get lost a lot of the time. Each of my other vehicles, right now I'm only down to 3 of them. Start with the one I'm probably going to get down to 2, because I'll probably sell this year. My Harley. And it's got a CRKT. Little small folder. Folds out real easy. Thumb thing on there. Very sharp. Points very sharp. Only got a one-sided bevel on it too. These things were not much. And when you're going to your car in a parking lot, you've always got your hands on your keys because you're getting ready to go beep, 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 beep. This puts a knife in your hand automatically. Don't be naive and think you're not going to get held up. FJ Cruiser. This is a Trango locker. And it's fully serrated stainless steel. I got this for when I go canyoneering. But that's on my FJ Cruiser all the time. Nothing else on there. And then on the Porsche, I've got this. And I'll tell you a long story short about a time that I was being detained, but not arrested. And the officer was frisking me down as I was being detained. And he's like, "You got any weapons on you? Any knives or weapons?" And I forgot how this, it closes up right here. I was in my Porsche at the time. Like, nope, just my keys and my cell phone. And then as I'm doing it, I'm going, oh shit, I should have shown him what I got. And I'm like, oh fuck it, nothing's gonna happen. And I'm pretty sure I've flown with this too. This, and it's got a lock blade right there. But those are my keychains. If you don't have one on your keychain, or your wife don't, or your kids don't, get them one. Now here's what really gets me, and besides YouTube's algorithms that got me, is there's a lot of YouTubers that got their own channels based on knives that are millennials. We all know millennials never had a knife until they got out of college, or definitely out of high school, because they weren't allowed to carry folding knives to school. But I never see these guys talking about their kitchen knives. Where's your good knifeware for at home? And here's what I'm going to tell you. Unsolicited advice. I don't care how old you are. As soon as you got enough money, invest. And this is an investment. Whereas the FJ Cruiser is not an investment, because I know I'm buying it for a higher price than I'm going to sell it for. It's a liability. It's not an investment. Buy you some good kitchen knives. Buy you some, they're going to be expensive. I think this knife right here was $150, which is equivalent to buying a good pocket knife, but you don't have them at home. This is a WÜSTHOF Classic, and this is only a 5-inch. This is one of my favorite knives. Get you some nice kitchen cutlery knives. I'm not bringing all of mine out. I'm just showing you my favorite WÜSTHOF. I got another 5 or 6 of them over there. Then, this is my 4-inch paring knife. This cuts everything. This will trim chicken breasts. This trims mushrooms to slice them down for frying. The majority of what I'm cutting in the kitchen, I'm doing this. And these things sharpen the exact same way as your Benchmades or your SpyderCos. You should have these because you use these more at home. And don't be afraid to use them. Steak knives. I can't remember. It's probably been maybe 20 years by now. I invested in some nice steak knives. I'm not a steak eater. I'm not a steak eater. This was the first one I got. This is a WÜSTHOF Classic. And these were specially made from a non-serrated into a serrated cut. And what happened was I got complacent and I started putting these in the dishwasher. Bad. There's something about these handles that you just can't do, but the rivets shrunk on these. On my newest one, I went back with some HENCKELS Classics. It says CRMOV 15 steel. This is my newest steak knives because I went to a steak knife that was, these are sharp too because I've sharpened the fuck out of these things. And I love these, and you should invest in kitchen knives before you do the pocket knives. small pocket knives, slide in your pockets, belt, pocket clips. And let's just start with these over here. These are nothing fancy. This is a SOG Flash 1 locker. Blade is about 2¼ inches. This knife stays at my desk under my computer monitor. This is what I clean my fingernails with and open mails with. This looks like a Gerber. I got this at REI, I believe. One time I was up there just getting stuff for camping. I liked it. It was inexpensive. It's good. It locks up good. Sharpens easy. Holds a good edge. I hadn't carried this in a long time. I did for the longest time. Mostly for work, because working, I didn't have room or need for a big old knife because I normally had tools around my waist. And I would have an old timer. Uncle Henry, old timer, 3 blades. I think I had one of these when I was a kid. And then when I became an electrician, I learned this blade right here. I could get the sharpest, and that right there, all of the not even an inch and a half blade, I could strip the insulation off of anything. I could strip the insulation off a space shuttle with this. But I'm talking about wire. Those. And then this is a Kershaw flipper. Didn't flip all the way. Hadn't used this in a while. There we go. And you can tell by looking at it, I do use this. I would cut anything out of this. And this sharpens up pretty good, even considering that weird shape of the blade on there. I've got this. This is an old buck. This is a buck 505. This is like the great-great-grandson to the buck 110. What's cool about this is 2 things. I got this as a gift for being in Mike and Lori's wedding, both of theirs first weddings. It's not real sharp. It needs to be sharpened. Dropped it on the tip couple of times. I'm sure tip's gone. Still locks up good. Solid, no wiggle, nothing. Closes good. And what's cool about this is it looks like it's got like a G10 handle on it. It's got a rivet through here, 2 rivets here, and I think there might be another rivet somewhere's up in here. Nothing to adjust. No screws. Nothing to service. It either works or it works. That's what the old bucks were good for. This is what most of us are carrying. Regular old pocket clipped knives. Normal handy size knives, right? That's what we're carrying. This is what everybody came here for. So, like I said, the YouTube algorithms got to me and I ended up buying, this is my newest toy, SpyderCo Tenacious. Real carbon fiber, skins, scales, hand grips, whatever you call it. It's smooth. It's brand new. I've had this not a week yet, and I hadn't cut myself yet. It's got a good feel to it. I like it. It's rather big. I was thinking I was going to get the SpyderCo Para 2, and then I started measuring it and comparing it to my other knives. I'm like, oh, that thing's just way too big. I will use that very infrequently. And then I said Para 3. And then I said, well, for a little bit bigger than the SpyderCo, I get the full military. All of those knives are, depending on which ones and what steel you get, they're like $200. And there's all these different steels, and the people on YouTube are talking about, oh, this steel, edge retention, sharpness, ability to get it sharp. Fuck, man, I know how to sharpen a knife. It's not going to really matter. is getting way overloading and over my head. So I went with this cheap knife. It's 60 bucks, I believe. It's got the China SpyderCo steel, 13 MOV. It's the smallest letters right there. It says China. This will stay sharp, and I can get it sharp again. And the rest is, I'm going to beat it up. I'm going to use it like a knife should be used. This one is my other more recent knife. This is a Kershaw Launch. I can't remember if this is the Launch 9 or 8, but I'm pretty sure it has been discontinued. It's a nice knife. It looks nice. It feels good. It stays sharp because I don't use this as much because I don't carry this knife. This is more my, I would call it my dress casual knife. I don't think I've taken this camping with me. But Kershaw, I can honestly say this was under 100 bucks, I'm pretty sure. Most of their launches are under 100 bucks. Reversible left hand, right hand. Point's always going to be up on this, which is fine. But their series that they launch of these, once they make them, they usually discontinue them unless they're just such big mass quantity cells where they can retool up and die on them. This is my next recent knife. Bought this off of Amazon. I was just looking for another toy. Ken Onion, quick knife out. Ken Onion Designs. It comes kind of roughed up, but it's built and designed to get roughed up and take that black off of there, give it that look. I believe this is called a liner lock. Got a good flip out. I don't think I've ever had this apart. This is getting a little bit too loose, but I'm kind of used to it. The SpyderCo is a lot tighter. Some people like them really loose. I'm good with the way it is. This is a Kershaw. I got this to try out the combination both side blades. I want to say I got this when I was in Boston. So that would have to be late 80s, early 90. And I carried this a bunch. Even though it wasn't my favorite, it was a quick flipper. Nothing special, nothing expensive either. Can't say I've ever had this knife apart either. This is my dress knife. This is a Kershaw. Very thin. I'm not sure if that's showing up how thin. Let's see if I had to measure it. It's not a 1/2 inch thick. It's almost a full 1/8 or more thin. This is super pointy, super sharp. I got the serrated and the super sharp, and I forget what it's called, where you only got, oh, this got grind on both sides of the blade. Some of them only got it on one side, but this I've never even resharpened, and I think I've opened one box with this, and I'm just like, ah, fuck it, it's a knife. Open one box, but this is really, if I gotta cut someone in a parking lot. All right, so then getting back into all this YouTube algorithm and the things with the knives, and then I remembered, I got that old buck in the garage, and I went out to the garage, and I had this. I remember when I had this. This was my high school knife. This was in a leather holster. It went on your belt, and we were able to carry these in high school. But then I had a shotgun and a .22 in my gun rack in the back of my pickup truck too. This is 50 years old, maybe 49. This is a buck number 112. This is the slightly younger and smaller brother to the famous buck 110. Buck 110 was, I think, a 1/2 inch longer, depending on the state you lived in. Even back in the 70s, you couldn't have a knife 4 inches long. This is just the right size for me. I just didn't need something, which I thought was going to be that long. But I found this in the garage the other day. It did not look like this. Trust me, I should have taken pictures before, but as soon as I got it, I just started fucking with it. I took a 1000 grit wet sanding foam hand thing, and I wet sanded this. Wood, brass. Didn't do the blade, of course. And then I took some flits to all the pieces of the brass, and I shined it up. That's not bad for a 50-year-old knife. Now look at the blade. You can tell that blade's been sharpened a bunch. It's lost almost 1/8 of an inch from about here forward. This was never a good blade to have to sharpen. It would just take forever. It's just so thick, and the angle of it, once you got it sharp, it would stay sharp a little while, but not a long while. It wasn't the best steel or blade design, but look at this. One rivet inside here, one rivet out here, one rivet out there. I mean, it's polished and they're brass rivets. And then you got 2 more in there. No adjustments. Never can you have an adjustment to this. You wash it. You stick it in the wash with your clothes. EWD-40 it. You put some silicone oil in it. Baseball oil. It don't matter. And look at this. Listen to it. Watch me open it. Locked. No movement, left or right, up or down, any which way. And everything is completely centered after 50 years. That's what's kind of special about this whole knife thing and YouTube's algorithms. That's not it. There's more. Gotta have a Ginsu knife. This Ginsu knife gets used. Look at that. Thing's dull as shit. This is another serrated bred Ginsu type knife. China. Plastic scales. I even had to tape it to keep that together. And this one here, the wood on it. Not a full tang. It's got natural wood. It's probably China red cheap bamboo wood. I don't know. Rivet missing. This thing's about ready to break. I use these in the yard. You need a Ginsu knife for the yard. These will take off branches when you're out there trimming shit in the yard, or you're digging up some weeds. This goes down into the dirt real easy. Cut a little hole around, get the roots. I always got this in my pocket in the yard. Gotta have Ginsu knives for the yards. All right, man, that's it. For me, it's just another knife. Another thing to carry. This is cool. I don't have an out for the front yet. I just haven't decided which one. At the gun show last weekend, there was a bunch of out the fronts and fake Benchmades or hey, to each your own. And no sense in having just one knife or just 30 or 40 knives. Be a man. Be a toxic man. Be a toxic man. Own bunches of knives. I'm out of here. See ya.